nuts at the end there, but that's what you got to do. Welcome to FiddleUP. I'm Emerald Ray, and today we're going to learn. I'm still drooling over that one. I love this tune so much. The Highlanders' Farewell to Ireland. And so what I was doing there was playing it the pretty way and the gritty way. And we're going to talk about both of those things as we go here. This kind of, if you're just listening to it, you know, going through this intermediate course and going, oh my God, that sounds like a monster. It kind of is, but not really. So I'm going to go through this tune really slow. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is, which is why it's so awesome. So we're going to be playing around with the octave ideas and all this stuff that's great in Scottish music. Scottish music loves to jump up and down the octaves, and this tune is no exception to that rule. It's really playing around with being really low and then being really high, and then that's something that happens in Scottish fiddle music a lot. So we're going to start off way down on the bottom. And so we're going to be playing around with some triplets and some of this Scotch snap timing. And so if you haven't done it already, I would go to the ornamentation section and check out the triplet video, because you're going to need to know how to do that. I'll go over it a little bit, but it is one of those things that takes a little bit of time to get a handle on before you get stuck into this one. So here we go. Highlanders' Farewell to Ireland. So this was a tune request, by the way. This was requested by a student, which is why we're doing it. And so if you have a tune that you really want to learn, please write to me, put a request through the website, send me an email, and let me know what you want to learn, because I'm happy to do videos on the things that you would like to learn. That is kind of helpful for me to know what you would like to do. So here we go. Down on the bottom, we're down on our G and D string here, and I'm barring over with my first finger, but the root note here. So that's what we're going to dig into now. We're going to really dig into this A string down on the bottom. So I was talking about the pretty way or the gritty way, which I played at the beginning of the video. The first version that I played was more of the Scottish country dance, sort of pretty, more aristocratic, cleaned up sound. And you can play Strathspey at least two different ways. The two main ways, actually there's 3 or 4, but the 2 main dance ways are you can play a sort of Scottish country dance style, which is very sort of regal, in soft shoes, has long kind of ballet-like steps, very 19th century ballet influenced. And then you have the step dancing, which is like with hard shoes and you know, it's like peasant dancing. You're gonna really get into the nitty gritty with that one, and the tempo is a lot faster. So we're gonna sort of learn both ways as we go here. So we're down on the A on the G string. So that's just B, A, B. And then I'm doing a triplet, which is just down, up, down. And again, I would highly recommend you go and watch that video, because that's going to be a lot more helpful than you know, trying to sit here and learn it here. It really does take a little time to get. So it's just down, up, down. So here we go. So I'm kind of doing a little hammer on from my open G string, slurring up to the B and triplet. And then heading up, it's going to get squirrely. So we're heading up to the F sharp on the D string here, and I'm going to head up to the G. So that's G, E, open D, down to the B again, and G. So yes, really. If you've never played a Strathspey before, or you've never played a Strathspey like this, buckle up. It's just all kinds of wacky intervals happening here. There's a lot of surprises with the interval structure with Scottish music, and that's because it's all comes from pipe music, where they were just playing a chanter And it's a lot easier to do this stuff on the pipes than it's on the fiddle. I'm not sure why fiddlers put up with all this, but it sounds really cool, that's why. So there we go, down from the bottom. So that at the bottom there, I was giggling because I'm snapping up the octave here. That's a very Scottish thing to do. And so the next phrase is, so we're up on the E on the D string. So that's E, D, E, G. And then to the open A. So that's A, open A, B, open A, and then down to the G. So together that's. And then down to the E again. So that's from the B to the G on your D string, open D, and then down to the B on your G string, and then a little flutter down to the A. So that's just a little bit of a trill and neighbor note thing. It's not exactly a roll. It's very similar though. So that half of the A part sounds like this. All right, so that is actually the whole B part. Phew! There's only 3 more parts to go. So start from the top. I promise this is the trickiest part of all 4 parts. It does get easier after this, and this is pretty common for the A part to be, to have a lot going on. So let's try that again. So to do this repeat, I realized I forgot to mention, I'm doing just going down to the A, and then to do a little pickup into the repeat, I'm going all the way down to that open G. Okay, so that's the whole A part right there. And so you're just going to play that twice and then move on to the B. So to get to the B is actually a little bit tricky. We have to go from all the way down here to all the way. I have to do this kind of crazy kookaloo octave shift. We're going to jump up 2 octaves. I'm not even joking. It's pretty crazy, but it's really fun. It's a good challenge. You know, it's like if you're running and you suddenly have to jump over a building. That's what it's going to feel like. So from down here. Yeah. So how we're going to pull that off is, if you've never done that before, which you actually might not have, it's a weird thing to do, especially in fiddle music. So from here, that's a nice big up bow. You just take an up bow and you just get some air going and you jump over the 2 middle strings. And so at first, that might not happen cleanly, and that's okay. That's actually a tricky move. And it's a nice cheat to just slam that A string, and that way it sounds like a double stop. So if you can just get over the D string, and if you can use all of your double stops at the same time, you know, you can hit a double stop on the bottom. Then you don't have to worry about anything. You know, you're covered on all sides because you have your double stop on the bottom 2 strings, and you can just slam up to the top strings. And you don't have to worry about hitting an open D string. So that is actually a good way you can cheat through this section. Even if you do that, it is going to feel really drastic though. So there's kind of no getting away from the feeling of going from your bottom string to your top string very, very quickly. So as we've done that, so we're up on the top strings here. So I'm going up to my high A. So I love these little runs. They're so much fun and they sound a lot harder than they are. So the first phrase is nice triplet on the top. And then we're going to go to the G. That's G, A, G, open E. And then we're going to just run down from the D string. Sorry, the D on the A string. I keep doing that. That's so annoying. I'm so sorry. The D on the A string. D on the A string. So that's D, C, B, A, G. And you just, with your bow, you just get into that gritty, almost kind of triplet sounding. And if you can do those really crisp and clean, and then slam onto your G double stop on the bottom, even better. So it's like with those little notes, they just want to sound really wild. It's not really about the timing there. You're just going to be stuffing them in. So sometimes the timing is actually a little bit off from what you would see on the sheet music. It would be written as just 4 16th notes. But as you can hear, it sounds a little bit more like the first 3 notes are a triplet. And then the last note, you know, di-da-da-da instead of di-da-da-da-da. So Strathspeys are weird. The timing is very elastic, or at least it feels like that. It doesn't feel like what it looks like. So I would just not worry about the timing of those notes, or just try to get them all in. So from the start of the B part, we have okay, let's try that again. Yeah, we're gonna do that. Another octave skip. So I'm laying on my 2 G's on the bottom. I've got my G on my D string and then my open G, and we're gonna hop up to the G on the top on the E string. And then so that's open E. So that's open E, D, open E again, G. And then going up to the high A and B, down to the G. So we have And then the last phrase is. So that's open E to G, and then D to B on the A string, and then open A. So that last couple of phrases together sounds like this. So to get used to that, I would definitely sing that one. I would definitely sing this whole tune if you can. If you can manage the octave skips, go for it. But phrases like that, da 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 are kind of classic lines. So that's a good thing to try to get used to, the sound of that. So let's try the B part from the top really slowly, piece by piece. So we have our triplet at the top. And then this little run downwards. And back up again. And then that last phrase together, starting on the open E string. So let's try that all together. Just for fun, I'm putting first finger on my E string. I'm sorry, I'm putting an E on my D string. I keep doing that. I can't do letters. I think in shapes, so the numbers and the letters, I have to actually think about it. So I don't know what learning style shapes is, but I just go with the feel of my hands. I don't really think about the numbers and letters. So if I have to, even though I went to music school, like, who knew? So in terms of doing this whole B part together, let's just do it slowly and let's try to do the repeat. Okay? So here we go. Okay, so on to the C part, and actually I think this one's kind of the easiest one, so this will feel like a little bit of a break compared to the rest of it. And actually the fourth part is a variation of the second part, and that often happens. So when you're talking about these 4-part Scottish tunes, what often happens is the C part is a variation somehow of the A part, and the D part is somehow a variation of the B part, if that makes sense. So that's how these are all structured, and that's a very old system, to have the main melody be the A part, and then variation 1 is the B part, and it's going to be somehow kind of complementary, like not the same. This is like, a similar style, but a totally kind of different but complementary flavor. And then the C part is going to be very related to the A part, and then the D part is very related to that second complementary thing. So you're going to see that in a lot of 3- and 4-part tunes. Actually, 3-part tunes, usually the third part is almost kind of unrelated somehow. It's kind of another idea entirely, but sometimes it'll follow that model. But 4-part tunes, you'll see that all the time. You'll see that most of the time, actually, that the parts kind of relate to each other like that. So we have, so this relates in the way that it's sort of, it's very similar. It's an octave up from the A part, but it's got a similar flavor. There's two different ways you can play this first phrase, and I do both. So I'll teach you a little bit of both, and you can either pick one or do both. I guess they're kind of similar. You can either play, but it's too hard to do that for some reason. It's really easy to squeeze another D in there, which almost rolls into. To see, all those things are pretty much the same thing, even though it's three completely different things. They all function the same. They all go in the same direction. So when I'm talking about playing around and taking some artistic liberties, that's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about adding some notes in and letting ornamentation actually turn into full notes. So that's a little nerdery for you. But so we're going to start with an open E, triplet on the open A. So we'll just add that little ornament in there for fun, because that's what you're going to end up doing anyway. So open E, open A, and then open E again. So it's E, D, D, E. Okay, so open E. And then we're going to go to B. So that is very similar, but different notes. Is the same rhythmic structure, you'll notice. So the first part is the open E. And then the second part is B to a G. So that's B to G on the D string. And you can hit your open G here if you want to, but we'll leave that out for this moment. And that's B, A, B, D on your A string. So let's play those two parts together. Okay. And then the third phrase is almost exactly the same as the first phrase. So we're heading up to that A at the top. That's a nice little variation on the first part. And that's going to lead right into the last phrase, which I think we've done before. I don't know, I'm losing track. All these fiddle tunes sound the same. They really do. It's hard to keep track. That's why it goes into your long-term memory in the back there. Nobody can remember all this stuff. It's insane. So it's really true. So we don't get lost. Let me go through the whole B part as we have it here. So we have so that last phrase is just a G and open E, and then D to B, and then open A. Okay, so the whole C part, we're done with the C part now, so we can play the whole thing together nice and slow. So we're gonna go up to the open E. And then I'm gonna add a little B to D pickup note here so we can get back to that open E. there. If you want to learn how to do strikes, that's in the ornamentation section. You can go there and learn all of this stuff, but strikes are really fun to add on a note like that in particular, because it's so exposed. It's just, you can just take your third finger and give it a good crack. Okay, so let's try that C part one more time just to make sure we're all together. So now we're moved on to the D part here, and this is going to sound very similar to the B part, but a variation again. So we're up on the high A again. Know most of that. That is taking pieces from the previous parts, so we'll just jigsaw that together. So it's very easy on the top. So without the double stop, it's just. So if you want to do that without the trill, it would be. But that's boring. So I would say try to add the trill on the top because it kind of makes it. So that's just B, A and B up at the top there. And then we have done this part before. But if we haven't, we'll go through it again. So we have G, A, G, open E, and then this run down, 3, 2, 1, open A. And then we've done this before. I can't remember if the A or the B part. I can't remember. I've lost track. Okay, so let's do that all together very slow. Whole tune. That's so exciting. So let's do the whole thing. So we have starting off on the A part. And then after that we have. And then after that we have the C part. And then the fourth part. Okay, so we'll do each part twice. Good luck. I'm saying that to myself. Well done. Oh my goodness, that's such a big tune. So from there, if you want to take this tune into the stratosphere, speed-wise, you can, that was a nice, very luxuriously slow pace there. That's a very slow Scottish country dance tempo, and depending on the age of the dancers, that might actually be perfect. They tend to want to go very slow on those ones. But if you're gonna play this for a step dancer, you gotta really step on the gas pedal. So let's talk about that. So as with any tune going faster, all you have to do is make your movements smaller. That is really all there is to it. If you're doing big movements, you can't go fast. You just literally can't. So it's a little bit tricky when you're trying to get a good tone out of the instrument as a beginner or intermediate player. You wind up having to do these big bows, and I am doing them too because I want my instrument to sound nice for you. But if you're going actually at a faster speed, you have to do much smaller bows and dig in a little bit more. So I'll show you what that sounds like. Okay, so the speed there is, I know this sounds weird, but when I'm teaching how to do a Strathspey step in a dance class, I actually have people jog first because that is actually a nice way to think about the tempo. So with all this movement stuff, if you're doing a march, try marching. It's gonna seem easier than it sounds. So with Strathspey steps, if you take a slow jog, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, you're gonna wind up in a Strathspey tempo if you're not, and I don't mean running. I mean a nice, easy jog. So a nice bouncy jog is where that's gonna land. So that's actually something you could try at home. You could actually get into a little jog step. And that's going to give you the feeling of where this needs to sit. So, in terms of going faster, so I'm making my bows very small. But listen to I'm getting the texture is just very, very gritty. This is like, high grit sandpaper here. So, and that's okay. That's what gives it its sound. And so what you're going for on those bottom strings is actually you're going for kind of a growl sound with your G string, especially. The fiddle player, that is known for having the best growl of all time is Natalie McMaster. Listen to her. She has this crazy G-string growl that is just out of this world. So I would listen to her playing on the bottom of her fiddle. It's pretty intense. She's getting right in there, like just really going crazy with it. Making it sound really awesome. So there's a lot of play that you have with the textures here. So. And so you can really hear the grittiness coming out here, as opposed to how we were playing it before, or how I played it in the very beginning, where it was pretty. It was nice tone. And that's lovely. It sounds like very meaty, and there's all this resonance happening. But if you're gonna go for the gritty version, you're gonna have to get comfortable with some squeal. And some squeals will happen. It's happening to me right now. I'm sure you're noticing. You're like, wow, that doesn't really, if you break it down, that doesn't actually really sound that good. That's okay. That's actually part of the sound. It's kind of like listening to like heavy metal music or punk rock or something like that. They're not going for pretty. Pretty isn't. not the goal. So that's kind of like with fiddle music, what's happening here. We're going for wild and woolly and you know, getting people really excited and wanting to dance. So it's not about prettiness. So, you know, and when you go from the bottom of your fiddle to the top of your fiddle, you're just kind of slamming down there. So yeah, like right in your face. Ah, just go for it. The third part, I actually like to back off a little bit on this, just like, you know, just take it back a little step. Once you get in there, it's hard to stop. So yes, I kind of backed off a little bit on the C part, and then, you know, went back into full tilt on the fourth part. And so yeah, what you're going for there is just all of the, you know, just all the dust kicking up in the air. So that's a lot of different things that you can play around with this tune. I hope you enjoy this tune. This has been a very long video, and that's okay. I'm glad we got all of the bits of this tune in here. And so, like I said, this was a request. So if you want to request a tune, please do that. I would love to know what you would love to learn. And I will see you in the next video.